Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. It is great to see you and be here today. Um, yes, happy you are here. Today, we're going to be talking about something I'm really excited and passionate about, which is how to get clients when you're experiencing imposter syndrome, because I think we've all experienced it. I am calling in from Columbus, Ohio, where I am for the next week, and then I'm off to Denver, and then I am back to Mexico. So it's great to be here with you all today. So, okay, yeah, and if you are watching this back on replay, go ahead and tell me where you're calling from, and also I'd love to hear just sort of where you are in your practice building journey. Okay, I'm gonna just get everything pulled up here. Okay, so welcome. If you are new to my world, I'm Emma and I'm a business strategist for therapists, and I'm really passionate about helping therapists build practices that speak to and draw out and express their unique gifts and superpowers and their unique abilities to work with their clients, as well as practices that are in line with them. So allow them to market in a way that feels authentic and not take over their lives and supports the kind of life they want to live rather than their life needing to revolve around marketing their practice. So I am a therapist who I've been in this for 10 years. I know a lot about private practice and building a private pay practice. And I actually travel the world. I live in Mexico. I have a fully remote practice. And I charge $250 a session, and I work with my ideal dream clients. So this kind of a life it's just so possible. And I remember when I first started, I really did not think I never thought, let alone that I never thought I'd pay off my student loans, let alone that I would get to live this amazing life. I really think private practice, I say this a lot, is one of the best careers there is because of the fact that you get to give back, you get to experience fulfillment, and you can make this amazing income. You can be your own boss, you can work 3 days a week. And it's just like pretty much checks all the boxes for a career that really gives back to you rather than your life needing to revolve around your career. So, however, imposter syndrome is real. So let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about how to get private pay clients when you're experiencing imposter syndrome. So let's first of all talk about like what imposter syndrome is, what it kind of looks like. So when I say imposter syndrome, what I'm talking about is this feeling of like self-doubt. So feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like you're a fraud. And this is so common for people starting their practices, even if you've been a therapist for a long time, even if you've been in community mental health, even if you've worked with hundreds of clients, and also if you haven't, of course. But the fact is, when you're starting a private practice, you're doing something really new. There's a huge learning curve, and you're having to advertise yourself and speak about yourself and put yourself out there in a way that you really don't. If you know, even if you're in private practice taking insurance, you don't have to do it in the same way. So we're going to talk more about that. But it's a whole new thing when you're in private practice, carte blanche, but also when you're trying to get private pay clients as well. So this also, you might be experiencing like this fear of failure, and I'd love to hear for you guys like which of these kind of resonates with you and if you're experiencing these things. So afraid of like putting yourself out there or trying because what if you fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if you have to go back to community mental health, or you have this shame of like I tried something and it didn't work, or I couldn't do it, or I wasn't good enough. Also, if you have this imposter syndrome, you might be also setting yourself unrealistic expectations. So you might be like telling yourself that if you don't have, X number of clients in 3 months or something like that, then it's a sign that like this isn't going to work out for you. And I just want to say that I get that, but But private practice, like, it is a business that it can be very surprising, like when and how you get clients. And it is not a sign, if you haven't had whatever clients for X number of months or something like that, that this is impossible for you. You can always turn around a private practice. It may be that your marketing strategy needs tweaked. Um, it may be a lot of different things, but that's something I help people with. Also, sometimes people with imposter syndrome, and I'm saying all these, by the way, because I can relate to them, they will overwork themselves. So they will set these really high standards, try to force themselves to do every possible thing, because if they're doing every possible things, if it doesn't work out, it means they did everything they possibly could. And so constantly trying to like prove themselves, prove their worth. And then also when things do go well, like crediting luck, like, oh, I got that client because, my friend, maybe they felt bad for me and they just wanted me to like to help me build up my practice, or my friend referred them. They told them they should come to me, rather than really crediting our own skills for like, yeah, I got that client because I put in some work. I did some things to market myself and express the kind of provider I am. Also, people with imposter syndrome will also often avoid praise. So, will find it hard to accept praise from other people, will feel uncomfortable receiving it. And this can make it really hard, if we can't accept praise, to really feel those things about ourselves. Um, and sometimes also even like avoiding opportunities. So maybe like there's an opportunity to be more visible, to have to have to give a talk, or to be in the public eye a little bit more, that oftentimes people with imposter syndrome will shy away from, because it's very vulnerable. Also apologizing a lot for themselves, or their shoddy work, feeling like an outsider, and really feeling different, like feeling like I am different, I am incapable of this. Other people who've come before me are capable of this. And also having this fear of disappointing others. So, maybe I'm afraid of disappointing my partner or my spouse if this doesn't work out, or disappointing my clients because I'm actually kind of a crappy therapist, and that is going to be revealed when I go on this journey. So, I'm really curious if any of this is familiar to you. I want to say, like, they're all familiar to me, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But I would love to hear from you, like, what of these things you find yourself getting stuck in. And I just want to normalize this. Like, I think that most people starting a business, I mean, most people in any trying some vulnerable new thing, have experienced some of these things, but especially like starting a new business, it is such a growth, it's such an opportunity for growth. And it also brings up all our unhealed wounds, all our stuff, even healed wounds, it reopens them. So if you're experiencing any of these things, I just want to tell you, you're not alone. And I think it can be really helpful to like normalize them, of like, you're not experiencing this, fear of failure and absolute feeling like a fraud because you are a fraud, like just like what we tell our clients. Like, you're experiencing that because this is part of the human condition when we're in a new situation and our brain is trying to protect us. So the fact that you're having the thought doesn't mean it's a true thought, and observing it as it's happening. So when I first started building my practice, oh my gosh, the feelings of imposter syndrome were so big and were so strong. I had never felt anything like it. I was the kind of student I was really good in school. I always, got it, I got jobs. I did well in things in general. But I remember starting private practice was so painfully hard for me, because I started out in practice and I wasn't getting clients at first. And I felt like it must mean I'm not good at this. Like, I'm not cut out for having my own business. Or maybe I don't want to be a therapist. Or I'm actually really not that great at being a therapist. Or I had had a previous career in philosophy, so as a professor in philosophy. So I thought maybe I need to just go back to that actually, because that's more in line with who I am than being a therapist and running my own business. I also heard a lot of the limiting beliefs from the people around me who would say things to me like, you can never earn more than $80,000 a year in your private practice, which to me, my God, that was a huge amount of money back then. But, or like you're always going to be struggling to get clients. It's so hard not having health insurance, like all these things I was really like taking in and I wasn't sure. And I started to do things like I would take on clients at like an incredibly low rate because I felt like I was sort of a crappy therapist, even though I wasn't a crappy therapist. I was a good therapist and I cared a ton and I had experience at that point. I had multiple years of experience. I was licensed, all of those things. But I didn't really know my niche. I didn't really feel like I was super good at any specific area. And I also started seeing clients that were really not like a great fit for me, like clients that I felt a little uncomfortable with or who were kind of critical of me, or clients that just really felt like they did not want to do the work of being in therapy. And I also had this kind of like aversion to marketing. Like I hated putting myself out there. I hated being seen. I hated talking about myself in this like boastful seeming way to myself. It was one of the hardest things I ever did. And I decided to take insurance because, and it was a good thing for me. I'm not dissing that. At that time, for me, it felt like far easier to have clients come to me, and I think it was the right choice for me at that time, but to have clients come to me and me not have to put myself out there in this way, than it did for me to have to be vulnerable and to sit with these really uncomfortable feelings. And however, I think had I been able to more recognize what was going on with the imposter syndrome, and had I been able to overcome some of this, it might have been easier for me. But I'm not going to say in this talk you need to overcome imposter syndrome to get private pay clients. So I just want to say that. Okay. So another thing that can kind of exacerbate this is that many of us have been told that in order to market our private practice, we sort of need to be everywhere. So we're already feeling like low about ourselves, and then we're told we need to like sort of be visible everywhere. We need to be running workshops, dancing on Instagram and TikTok, giving talks, maybe having an email funnel. Like we need to just be out there, out there, out there all the time. And I'm here to tell you, thankfully, that that's not true. Like you do not need to be visible everywhere in order to be visible to your ideal clients who are gonna find you. So a lot of my clients that I work with as a coach, so who are therapists themselves, they come to me and they also feel stuck. They feel like an imposter and they feel afraid to be vulnerable and show up on every social media channel or dance on camera or publish their websites or be vulnerable in this way. Like it's really scary, the kinds of things that marketing ourselves requires us to do. Furthermore, it's really hard for some of these people when they come to me to really be able to identify and express what their superpowers are as a clinician. So not just like, yeah, I'm an EMDR therapist and I'm, certified in it, but like what makes them the clear, obvious, undeniable choice for their clients that has their clients raving about them, that allows them to feel so confident and excited about their work and lit up by it and know that they're in this profession that is soul feeding for them. They can't get in touch with those things often because they're stuck in this state of imposter syndrome, and that totally makes sense. So this reminds me of my client Sarah, who when she first came to me, she actually had the bones of a great website. Like it wasn't all complete, but she had some stuff there. And she was really afraid to publish it and put it out there because she was afraid it wasn't good. Now, mind you, Sarah is an amazing clinician and she treats clients with with who are on the spectrum, who have ADHD, who have trauma. Um, so when she came to me, we really worked on things um, behind the scenes so she could work up her confidence again. We also worked to understand what these superpowers are that she has. And I'm going to go more into her story in a little bit and what we did for her. But now she's actually very visible to her ideal clients. She has a packed schedule and a wait list, and her clients in 3 months, and her clients are actually rearranging their schedule to get to meet with her. Like, she is seen as the expert in her niche and in her field in just a matter of months. And she went from not being able to hit publish on her website, not really truly knowing what her superpowers were as a clinician, to being this force, like to marketing herself in this way where you can feel her brilliance and her genius, and it's like contagious and you want to be around her. So another kind of example of this in one of my clients is my client Jare, who is such a beautiful, brilliant clinician. But when she came to me, she had an idea of what she wanted to do, but she didn't know how to kind of express it. And through the process of us working together, we really talked about and figured out what her zone of genius was, so that now she has written one of the most amazing websites I've ever seen. She helps people heal disordered eating through a trauma lens and through using EMDR. By the way, if you're in Idaho and you need a clinician who does that, like, I highly recommend her. But her website, she said it came out just like it flowed so easily after she understood the way to frame what she's doing and her superpowers. And now, so she's constantly talking about this all the time. She's networking with other clinicians. She's going to be full in no time. So, when we're having imposter syndrome, what I want to say is we do not need to, as we talk about with our clients all the time, this is not something we need to just push past or like force ourselves out of, because whenever we're forcing something in, clinically or, an emotional state to try and get out of an emotional state, like, it doesn't work. Like, trying to force just leads us to have more of that emotional state often. So instead of trying to force ourselves out of imposter syndrome, I am of the mind that we really need a marketing strategy that respects our nervous system and that meets us where we are. So we also need to market in a way that doesn't feel cheesy or phony or inauthentic. And you don't need to feel confident or good in your skin to market this way or to get private pay clients. In fact, I would say I built my whole practice, even though, it took me some time because of all the kind of hoops I jumped through that I had set up for myself. I really built my whole practice experiencing imposter syndrome, even as I got more confident and, decided to go off insurance and all that stuff. I even felt like an imposter then. So again, like, healing doesn't come from just pushing and forcing. It's about a gentle nudge outside of our comfort zones while also not scaring ourselves so much that we freak out. We know this with our clients. It's the same way with our businesses. So if you're thinking about, like, for example, like a kid who is scared of a monster under the bed, like, you would not go and take that kid's head and just like push it under the bed to show the kid, like, there's nothing to be afraid of, look. Like, that would potentially traumatize the kid and would not help. You might gently, like, and rather than saying, like, we're not going by the bed at all, we're going to avoid this, we would maybe gently, like, take the kid's hand, like, be like, okay, like, what do you think about maybe we just look together, and you would gently nudge the kid and help the kid see that there's no monster under the bed. You wouldn't avoid the bed, but you also wouldn't be forcing this kid to look under the bed. And that's the way the kid would start to understand that he or she is safe. So how do we do this? How do we market ourselves when we are feeling like an imposter? So, I have this strategy inside my program called Aligned Action, which is where I help my clients gently push through the feelings of imposter syndrome, like do this gentle nudge while also respecting their nervous system and not freak themselves out so much and not take action that doesn't feel aligned. So, this is really about developing a marketing strategy that works for you, not only like your preferences, because that's very important too, but also where you are, a marketing strategy that truly meets you where you are. So let's take Sarah, for instance. So with her, we worked on finding that next easiest step for her that felt comfortable for her and was going to get her to her goals. I asked her a question of like, what is the next most important thing to you right now? Is it feeling more comfortable? Is it getting clients? Is it having some kind of foundations and sort of the bedrock stuff done in your business? For her, she really wanted clients and she knew she really wanted clients. So she identified that for herself, the next easiest thing that felt aligned, that felt good, but also stretchy for her was to make some changes to her website that we worked on together. And we really, with the understanding that she could always come back and change it, which she did. But the next stretchy thing was to go ahead and publish her website. We did that. And then I asked her kind of what the next most important thing was for her. Um, we then talked about, okay, what are the actions we need to take to get to the next step? And slowly, 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 she became comfortable with taking like bigger and bigger steps to market herself. And there were weeks where it needed to slow down and she needed to kind of back off and do things that were more like setting herself up as far as like her Google business profile or whatever it was, like getting her foundations in order. And then weeks where she wanted to kind of sprint and she wanted to network with these people who were so in line with what she was doing, and where she was on podcasts and speaking at summits. And then she had this humongous, awesome Instagram page that is like, you should go follow it if you don't. Like, so she truly, we did this by like titrating, like listening to like a little push and then a little pullback often, um, until we got to this point together where she wasn't really feeling quite as much imposter syndrome and she felt ready to like be more visible and kind of do this on her own. Um, each week we were doing these check-ins and finding out where she was, what her goals were, what she was needing. Um, and again, 3 months after starting this work, she's full with a wait list and she feels confident about her business. Um, it's really clear in how she shows up. And so, again, we didn't do this through pushing and trying to force her to get out of the state of imposter syndrome. We did it by taking aligned action that felt authentic to her and that felt comfortable but stretchy, and it was the next right step for her. And now I will say she also does marketing that she actually enjoys doing. Like, she actually really enjoys Instagram and being on there. And I have a lot of clients, myself included, who do not like that. And you definitely don't need to do that to have a full practice. But it's not so much about like, are you on Instagram? Are you on TikTok or whatever? It is really about finding a strategy that works for you and where you are. And so I help you tailor make a plan based on your nervous system, but also based on like what you actually like, where your strengths are, being aware of what things are harder for you. Um, so aligned action is a part of one of my pillars, which is called embodied support. And it's part of one of the pillars of my program, where we really work on supporting a couple things. Like, first of all is supporting your nervous system, helping you have a business that feels aligned with you and your boundaries, where you're not seeing too many clients, where you're working with the clients you want to work with. And when we're doing that, we show up better for our current clients. So it's also about, rolling out the red carpet for our current clients, like finding those clients who are so awesome to work with and then treating them like gold so that they refer to us. We have great client retention. And then it's also about giving to future clients through the content on our site, through just how we show up in our content that we are putting out there. And again, you don't need to put much out there. Like, you can be an introvert and definitely do this. So that's embodied support. Um, so the next part of what I help clients with is Kismet findability. And I talk about this a lot, but this is where we help you be found by clients without burning yourself out or being visible everywhere or burning the candle at all ends. One really important part of this is another part of my pillars, which is establishing expertise. All of that, like putting yourself out there and being visible, it's all going to fall flat if your ideal client lands on your site and you look just like every other therapist, or they're not aware of what your true gifts are, or they can't really see how you uniquely will help them and how you uniquely understand their problems and understand what it's like on the other side for them. So, a huge part of Kismet findability, yes, it's about making you visible and findable by these ideal clients, but it's also a huge part of it is making sure you, when these clients find your website, they're like, oh my God, I want to work with this person. All of the findability stuff and the backlinks and all that stuff, it's all going to fall flat if we don't have you showing up as this brilliant genius you are. And so that is what I help my clients with. If you are serious about building your practice, growing it, if you want more private pay clients, I would love to chat with you. I'll post the link to book a call. I have a group program where I help clients exactly with this. There's tons of individualized support inside. And thank you for being here today. And I'm just wishing all of you the best and kindness to yourselves. And I will see you soon.